part of the show, I think.
Who sees that, right?
Is it on your desk?
I don't know. All right, whatever. Anyway, hello, everybody. Hey, anybody in the orchestra can look around the band room from my iPad?
Back row, by the floor.
Oh, no, that's not it. It's a different one. Okay, I don't know. Okay, we're going to start. Miss McFarland found my iPad. Thank you, Miss McFarland. This is why you have student teachers, so that they can learn and grow, but more importantly, they can find your iPad when you lose them. Where was it? It was on my desk. Sorry, Liv, it was on my desk. Welcome, everybody. Sorry, I was a little distracted at the beginning, but as Mr. Benzing said, this is a time of transition for everyone, but so I find that it always is. Life is filled at the middles. We often remember the beginnings and the ends. We remember these really important, famous events in our lives, concerts, huge tests, great memories, sad memories, funerals, weddings, baptisms, whatever, you name it. We remember those types of things, great trips. We sometimes, though, forget like all of the stuff that's in the middle that happens to us. And most of our time is spent in the middle. Most of the time we are spent doing the mundane things, very, very average things. A lot of today's music has beginning, middle, and end, and very clear sections. What we just heard was called All Things Great, All Things So Wondrous, and it's a work by William Owens, who quotes a hymn, a church hymn typically texted to praise to the Lord. So regardless of the setting of the hymn, what happens is we had that interesting spot in the beginning, and then in the middle, this hymn erupted, this chorale, and then the rest of the work was changed. That's what happens to us. We have something that happens, we live most of our lives in the middle, and then we come back to something interesting, but we're changed people, and music encapsulates that. The next work that we're going to hear is, oh my gosh, Imminent Danger. So Imminent Danger is something about this in the here and now. Composer Jody Rose, Jennifer Rose created this work where it's for band and electroacoustic. So you'll hear live band and also recorded dubstep track that was really popular in the late 80s, 90s, and into 2000s, especially in the UK. So this music is all about this moment right here in the middle. So it's got band, really rhythmic pop rhythms, electric recording, and then us here. This is Imminent Danger by Jennifer Rose. in addition to saving the planet and the concert, Ms. Samantha McFarland is a student teacher who is now working in her placement in Abington in an elementary school. She's a student at Temple University, a senior, majoring in music education. This is her final semester before she goes off into the world of teaching music, and she'll graduate with a degree and a Bachelor of Music and Music Education from Temple University. She's a fabulous, fabulous young conductor and educator. She's here to work with us on Charm, which has been a really interesting, exciting work. You'll notice that it's not typical of us in terms of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. It's in 7. So it's 8 minus 1, I guess. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and but that last 7th missing is what propels us to look forward towards the future. So this is Charm by Kevin Putz, conducted by our student teacher, Miss Samantha McFarland. That was John Philip Sousa's King Cotton March, written to celebrate cotton as king, as the trading spectacle that it was once the United States was able to create it and send it out. The World's Fair, this was the music written for it. John Philip Sousa wrote all kinds of marches for various events, various commissions. Every march that he wrote, that's not true. Many of the marches that he wrote has a beginning and a middle and an end. Of course, there's a first strain. We musicians aren't very creative and we name things. A first strain, a second strain, and then a trio. But the trio is something that we hear at the very end, and it just opens up to just complete fun, and that's the end of every Sousa march. It allows us to kind of explore whatever we'd like to explore, and it leads well into this completely opposite work by Alan Havanis called Hymn to Yerevan. And this is a work that is focused and inspired by music of the Armenian church and old chant music. So it sounds very haunting, very hollow, very scary almost. And then in the middle, there is something we call an aleatoric section where the percussionists are going to go a little bit rogue. And when they do that, they're setting this really incredible soundscape that we're not used to. And the roaring lion trombones come in with their own sounds too. We are changed somehow. We come back to the original music at the end. This is Hymn to Yerevan by Alan Havanis. program tells you a little bit about the music that we're performing. It also tells you that it's 2024. You're welcome. We all got a little bit younger. So ignore that or embrace it, whatever you like. 2024 was a banner year. What I think of this next work is called Caribana After Party, written by a composer named Omar Thomas. His music is really popular right now in the concert band world. And one of the reasons is that he's allowing us to celebrate cultures that concert bands were not written for specifically. For example, we're playing the music that's coming from Caribbean cultures. And the concert band is not from the islands south of the United States, right? It's not from this part of the world. However, Omar Thomas is, and he gives us this way to celebrate multiple cultures at one time. So this is not music of the Caribbean, but it's music that is inspired by Caribbean culture. We get to present it here. You'll hear a pretty raucous party. It is supposed to be the party after the party, hence the name Caribana After Party. You'll also notice in the middle there is a section that is really percussive with body percussion, and then finally ends with a lot of fun. This is again conducted by our student conductor, student teaching conductor, Miss Samantha McFarland, and she's here Caribana After Party. After this, we'll have a very, very quick transition to the orchestra. This is the final work of the wind ensemble. Thanks, everyone. that B flat chord, that first chord that starts that work, is one of the most memorable and quickly realized chords in all of cinema. That huge moment that opens Star Wars. Star Wars was so incredible for its time because it wasn't like a disco soundtrack. It was a symphonic soundtrack written by the great John Williams. So every Star Wars movie, not true, here I go. All right, I'm not going to get too into the Star Wars stuff. But then, here we go. But the 9, episodes 1 through 9 begin with that epic fanfare. And even I highly recommend, if you haven't, of course you've seen the Clone Wars, Attack of the Clones, which this music was from. But there's a great cartoon, 7 seasons, The Clone Wars. Check it out. You will not be sorry. If you don't like Star Wars, you're going to hate it. But I'm telling you, it's a moment in which change really happens, in which Anakin and Padme, of course, come together and fall in love. Anakin, spoiler, becomes Darth Vader, and he goes from a light user to a full Dark Force user, whatever. But then he's kind of resolved in the end. There's a lot to it. Check it out. I hear there's books, but who reads those? What I want you to know is that music starts us off in the prelude, the first 3 movies. What we're going to hear now is something that I think encapsulates all of the concert in the same way that hymn to Yerevan did with the wind ensemble. Erin Bush is a composer who lives in Philadelphia, and she visited us on March 3rd here on Monday. She came and she heard the orchestra play, and she was talking to them about this music. Extremely kind person, professor at Temple University, runs a program called Wildflower Composers, which she told some of our students about, which is really excited. I see some Wildflower alum in the audience today. She told us that this music was from when she spent time in Chile. She spoke no Spanish whatsoever, but she was there, and there's this really small town, and she was really excited to see it, but the townspeople said, you must go into the air and see it from the air. She was very scared of the plane. Apparently it was like some really crappy helicopter or airplane or something that she was scared of. The beginning of the work is the rotors, is the propellers spinning faster and faster and faster, and it gets louder and louder and louder and really more exciting. I think she gets really scared. She flies over the mountains, and then she sees the town, and it opens with this lush, beautiful solo violin, which you'll hear played tonight by Wendy Chen, and then this incredibly lush music. Then, as the plane comes back down, back over the mountains, we hear reminiscence, that propeller music, but it's softer, it's slower, and we hear a little bit of the melody that we heard when she was flying over the mountains. Because of course, when you start something and then have life experiences, and you come back to that same thing, you view it differently. Right? Like when I rewatch the Clone Wars, seasons 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, I'm a different person because I've experienced life since. So even though the episodes are exactly the same, the magic is new. I highly recommend this. It's so good. I really do. All right, so enjoy not Clone Wars, Volando sobre Neltume, flying over Neltume. This was the town in Chile by Dr. Erin Bush, who's a composer who lives in Philadelphia and visited us 2 weeks ago. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I know in the middle of the semester it seems a strange time to have a concert, but it's exactly the time to have a concert because we're in the middleness. We're in those unremarkable moments of our lives. We have so many remarkable moments. That's the celebration of tonight's music. Hopefully this has been a memorable experience, if not for the music, then for the antics. And if not for that, then I just want to say thank you for being here. Seriously, thank you to Mr. Benzing, who welcomed us and laughed at our jokes tonight, and is one of our biggest cheerleaders, not only in the music department, but of the entire high school. We're so happy to have him as our principal. Thank you to all of the principals at Strath Haven High School and the administrative team and the support staff who work at our high school. The Board of School Directors of the Wallingford-Swarthmore School District, our Assistant Superintendent Sharon Baddock, and our Interim Superintendent right now, Jim Scanlon. These people are so incredibly supportive of what we do here, and we're grateful for them. For all of you who have made the sacrifice from the very first Twinkle Twinkle Little Star to now what you're hearing on the stage, it's been a long journey for you, but thank you for getting them to those lessons, to those rehearsals, making them get those performance assessments in within 2 to 3 weeks of the deadline. And I just really appreciate being with you all tonight. We're going to close with something that's actually the beginning. They were mad that we're ending with something called Prelude. But it's a work that Franz Liszt intended to be multi-movements. He only let the first one happen. And he said that he never meant to do the rest of them. He did the first movement, and he's like, that's it. That's all. That's the beginning, the middle, and the end. Just the beginning. Sounds like a Strath Haven student. They started the project, and then that's it. You know? So we're going to end in the Strath Haven way with the beginning. This is called Le Prélude from Poème Symphonique by Franz Liszt.